Okay, welcome back. So in the last class, we have started what is meant by exception and what is exception handling. Okay, so exceptions are the runtime errors basically raised in a program. Okay? Exception handling means the process of handling raised exceptions is known as exception handling. Okay, so this is what we have discussed in the last class, and also we discussed what are various built-in exceptions. Okay, so some of the built-in exceptions also we have discussed. So in which the first one is arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception I have discussed. Arithmetic exception is raised whenever the division by zero error is there in a program. And the next one, array index out of bounds exception. Okay, array index out of bounds exception. That is whenever the array index is exceeded, then it raises an exception called array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so this is what we have discussed in the earlier class. Okay, so now the third category of exception is known as the number format exception. The third category is known as the number format exception. So number format exception means this exception is raised. It is an error condition when the conversion from string to integer is failed. String to integer is failed. That means when we need actually this conversion, when we are going to convert a string into integer. Okay, now for example, if you consider the concept of command line arguments. Okay, in Java there is a concept called command line arguments. What is meant by command line argument? Command line arguments are the arguments supplied from the command prompt itself whenever the program is running. So this is known as the command prompt actually. This is called the command line arguments. Where how many arguments are there here? This is argument 1, this is argument 2, this is argument 3. Now the first argument is stored at args0. Second argument 23 is stored at args1. And the third argument ABC is located at args2. Okay, so now even though these two are the integers, it seems to be integers, internally its data type is string. Its data type is string because args is an array of type string, so that whatever the values you are storing inside this string are also treated as strings only, not integers. Okay, this is the first value is 12, this one, this is first string, this is 23 is second string, and ABC is another string. Okay, now if you want to represent these 12 and 23 as integers, it is the responsibility of the programmer to convert into integer. Now for that what you have to do, use the wrapper class integer dot parseInt. Okay, that is integer dot parseInt of args0, integer dot parseInt of args1. Now successfully 12 and 23 are converted into int data type, and whose values are stored inside A and B. Okay, this is up to this, there is no issue at all. Now suppose I am trying to convert the value at args of 2 into integer once again. Okay, but it is not integer actually, it is a string. ABC is a string actually here. So that what I am doing is I am trying to convert this ABC into integer. ABC into integer. Then what happens? Automatically this will raise an exception that is known as number format exception. Such an exception is known as a number format exception. This type of exception is called number format exception. Okay, so understand all of you? This is called a number format exception. Number format exception means an exception which is raised when the conversion from string to integer is failed. String to integer is failed. Okay, this is the good example for this number format exception. Okay, now let us take one example and we will illustrate. So for example here, let us take integer a. Okay, integer a, and a is equal to integer dot parse int of args of 0, args of 0. Okay, and let us take three variables a comma b comma c. Okay, and control c. This is b, this is c, this is b, this is c. Okay, this is c here. Suppose this is args of 1, args of 2, this one. Okay, let us print a. Three print statements, so you can write a, b, c. Print the value of b, print the value of c. Okay, three variables are there here. That means the program is taking three command line arguments. Okay, a, b, c, and convert these three command line arguments into integers and are assigned to a comma b comma c. Okay, so now compile the code java c test.java and java test 1 2 3. Okay, 1 2 3. Now three variables are there, 1 2 3. Okay, so now after this print statement, what I am trying to print is, so I am always here. Some statement I am writing here. This is the print statement. Okay, so compile the code successfully and execute this. Now I am always here. Okay, right. Now what I am doing is, instead of giving the command line arguments 1 2 3, I am giving 1 2 and abc. 1 2 and abc. Now see here what happens. What happens here now? The Java runtime system raise an exception. What it is? Exception in thread main. Exception in thread main. What is that exception? Java dot lang dot number format exception. Number format exception for what? For input ABC. For input ABC. Okay, because ABC is a string, I am trying to convert the string into integer. That is the reason why the Java runtime system is raising an exception called number format exception. Now, how to avoid this number format exception? Now, to avoid this, what you have to do is use the exception handling mechanism. That means use the try block, and because these are the statements raising an exception, now keep all these statements inside the try block and catch the corresponding exception. What is the exception here? Number format exception. Okay, what is the exception here? Number format exception E. So system dot out dot println. Now print the description of the error E. Okay, and later on anyhow the print statement is available here. Okay, catch number format exception E, system dot out dot println E. Now let us see the scenario now. Now Java C test.java. Okay, and then Java test. This is 23. No issue. Now ABC. Now see what happens here. Now java.lang. Number format exception for input string ABC, description of the error, and later on the rest of the code will be executed. Earlier this statement was not there. If there is an exception, this statement will not execute. But if it is an exception handling mechanism, the try block simply create an object of the corresponding exception and it is thrown to the catch block. Now the catch block is readily available here. Okay, so that it will take the necessary action. That means it will print the description and then continue the execution of the remaining statements. Continue the execution of remaining statements. Okay. Now suppose A and B are available. Suppose if you want to perform addition of A and B, okay. Now you can add the values of A and B here. Okay. The values of A and B here, right? So because these right. So now you can read these values, okay, because A and B are initialized locally here, okay. So you may not get the result here, okay. So now you can initialize the values of A and B globally, okay, so that you can perform some operations on A and B here, okay. So A and B, A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, that 10 plus 20, 30 will be printed here after an exception is raised, okay. So like this, you can continue or proceed the execution of the rest of the program after carefully handling the raised exception. Okay. In our example, the exception here is number format exception. Okay. So please note down the program. Next, we will discuss another exception known as null point exception. Please note down the program. And if you have, meanwhile, if you have any doubts, please ask me. Okay. So this is about third one, number format exception. Okay. So next we will discuss about the null pointer exception. The fourth example, null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. Null pointer exception. Okay. Now, for example, if I am declaring a string here, string s is equal to abc. Okay. String s is equal to abc. Now, strings are treated as objects here. Okay. Example, I am printing the character. I want to print. There is a string method called caret, the integer location, that is a, and the character at the location 1 is equal to b, and the character at the location 2 is equal to c. Okay. And suppose I am trying to find the character at the location 3. Okay. At the location 3. So this is not there. Okay. That is index exceeds. Okay. Index exceeds. Okay. Now, for example, if I am declaring the string s is equal to null, string s is equal to null, and I am trying to display the character at 0. Okay. Now, what it will gives? There is no character at the location 0 because the string s. Okay. Whereas the string s is a null string. Null string means there are no values in the string s. Okay. But I am trying to access the character at the location 0 here, s dot caret of 0 here. Okay. Now this will raise an exception called null pointer exception. This is an exception called null pointer exception. Now this is raised whenever we are trying to access the value which is not there at all. Okay. Now this is raised, okay, when a null value is attempting, trying to access, null value is accessed. Okay. If I am trying to access a null value, then automatically this will raise an exception called null pointer exception. Okay. So for example, here I am trying to find out the length of the uh, string s dot length. Okay, what is the length of s? This is an exception because there is no value in the string s. That is the default value is null, but I am trying to access the null value here. Okay, now in such case, the compiler will raise an exception called null pointer exception. Okay, null pointer exception is raised whenever an invalid memory is accessed. When you are trying to access invalid memory. Okay, this is known as the null pointer exception. Clear? Now let us see an example. We'll see one program. Okay, please note down this. Okay, clear all of you? If you have any doubts, please ask me. So meanwhile, we'll see one example, right? So now let us take one string. S is equal to, so suppose BVCC. Okay, and print S is equal to BVCC and print S. Okay, so Java C test dot Java, Java C test dot Java, and Java test. Now the string value is BVCEC will be printed. What will be the value of string S? BVCEC. Okay. So and similarly, you can also find out the length of the string S, that is S dot length returns length of the string. Okay, what is the length of the string here? 5. Length of the string here is 5. Okay, 5 means the number of characters in a string. Length of the string means the number of characters in a given string. How many number of characters are there in the given string? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now the 5 different characters are there, hence the length of the string is 5. Okay, and similarly you can also find the character at a particular location, character of 0, that is the character at the 0th location will be returned. Okay, what is the character at 0th location? B. Okay, and similarly you can also return the character at the first location and second location and third location and fourth location. Okay, that is the characters at all the 4 locations will be printed. 5 locations will be printed. Length is 5. This is 0. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. Okay, now suppose if I am trying to access the character at 5. Now the index 5 does not exist here, but I am trying to access. Okay, now this will raise an exception called string index out of bounds exception. This one. Okay, string index out of bounds exception. Okay, this also you can handle. Okay, using the try catch blocks. Okay, but now the scenario here is I am trying to access null pointer exception. Okay, this is the case where the string has a value. The string is initialized, but here I am declaring the string is null, but I am trying to print the length of the string here. Now see what happens. Java C and Java. Now this is the null pointer exception. Okay, now the print statement raise an exception called null pointer exception. Okay, now how to handle this null pointer exception? Using the try catch block. Now keep this statement inside the try block. Okay, now try and then catch. Now here null pointer exception E, right? Now print system.out.println, simply print E. Okay, and afterwards you can write some print statement here. Okay, now null pointer exception handled. Null pointer exception handled. So clear screen, compile the code. Java C and Java test. Now what is the exception? Java dot lang dot null pointer exception and null pointer exception handled. NPE handled. Null pointer exception is handled. Okay. So please note down the program. So this is about the null pointer exception. Okay. So these are the some of the built-in exceptions. Okay. So now we'll see the remaining in the coming subsequent sections. Okay. Next we'll see how to handle the multiple catch blocks. Multiple catch blocks. So and before that we'll discuss about finally. Finally also we'll see and then we'll discuss about this multiple catch blocks. Okay. Okay. Next one is the finally keyword. Okay. So in the exception handling, so different keywords are there. What is the first keyword? Try. And the second keyword catch. And the third one is finally keyword. Okay. Try is over and catch is over. And the next one is the finally keyword. We'll see. Okay. What are the various advantages of this try? What are the uses of try and catch we have seen? Okay, next we'll see what is the use of finally keyword. Okay, right. Now the purpose of the finally keyword is very simple, right? Now suppose the try block is throwing an exception, then only the catch block will execute. Okay, that is the general scenario is when the catch block is going to execute whenever the try block throws an exception. Okay, otherwise the catch block will not execute at all. Okay, for example, here we have seen, suppose here the string is equal to something I have given here. Okay, something I have given here. Now compile the code Java C test.java and Java test. Now what happened here? What happened here? Now the try block is executed here. The try block is executed and printed the length of the string, and later on it executed the print statement outside the catch. Okay, now suppose here inside the catch block I am printing something here. Okay, so I am catch block. I am catch block. Now recompile the code Java C and execute this. Now 3 and NPE is handled. Okay, only two statements are printed. Okay, that means catch statement is not executed in this case. Okay, for example here I am writing null. Okay, it is null, and see what happens. Java C and Java test. Now Java dot lang dot null pointer exception. Now exception is raised. I am the catch block. I am the catch block, and NP is executed. That means if there is an exception, then only the catch block will execute. Okay. Otherwise, the catch block will not execute at all. Okay. This is the scenario where the catch block is executed. Okay. Understand all of you? When the catch block is going to execute. Okay, very important point here. The catch block is executed. The catch block is going to execute. Okay, so whenever the try block throws an exception. Okay, otherwise Otherwise, the catch block will not execute at all. This is a very, very important point here. Okay, when the catch block is going to execute, whenever there is an exception, otherwise the catch will not execute. Okay, now suppose, so if I want to execute the block or certain statements always, okay, whether an exception is handled or not, whether an exception is handled or not, I want to execute some block of statements or certain number of statements always, whether the try block throws an exception or it may not throw an exception, but still I want to execute some set of statements always. Okay, now in order to achieve this, we have a keyword, okay, so called finally. We have a keyword known as finally. Okay, now the code inside the finally block will execute always, okay, whether an exception is thrown or not, whether an exception is thrown or not. Okay, the exception may be thrown or it may not be thrown, but the finally block will execute always. That is the advantage of the finally block. Okay, now the syntax of the finally block is same as that try and catch. Okay, so finally and open brace, and inside this you can write some statements. You can write some statements. Okay, so finally, okay, so you can write something here, system dot out dot println, system dot out dot println. So hi, I am finally block. Okay, I am finally block. So this is the syntax of the finally block and the advantage of the finally block. Okay, so understand all of you. So please write down the definition and syntax, and then we'll see an example program which illustrates the use of finally block. Okay, which illustrates the use of finally block. Please make a note on this, all these points. Okay, and then we'll see one example that illustrates the use of finally block. Okay, let us see an example to illustrate the use of finally block. Okay, now let us consider the same example. Okay. Now finally here you can write some statement here. So I am always here. I am always here. Okay. Now try catch. Now the finally block must be followed by try and catch. Okay. Try and catch. So write down this code. Now here now the case one is without exception. So we will illustrate. So case one is without exception. Let us check what happens. Now the string is BVC. There is no exception at all. Now the length of the string is 3 and I am always here. I am always here means who? That is inside the finally block. Okay. This is finally block. Inside the finally block I have printed I am always here. That's what exactly printed. Okay. Now it is null. Suppose it is null. Okay. Null. Now let us check what happens now. Now it will generate an exception. Okay. Now an exception, null point exception is raised. This is the catch block and again I am always here. The finally block is executed. Finally block is executed. Okay. That is the advantage of the finally block is we can keep all the housekeeping statements inside the finally block. Okay. Now suppose when you are working with the concept of files. Okay. Now an open file must be closed at the end of the program. Okay. Now in such case what you have to do is keep all the file closing statements inside the finally block always. Okay, because these statements are executed always irrespective of the exception. Whether an exception may be caught or it may not be caught, but still the statements inside the finally block will execute always. Okay, that is the advantage of the finally block. Okay, now one more advantage is I'll show you practically. First you note down this program, then I will show you the another usage of this finally block. Okay. Now the general scenario is, for example, in this program I am writing the try block, but there is no catch block at all. I am removing this part. Okay, I am removing this part, right? So there is a try block in the program. There is no catch block at all. Okay. Now see what happens. When I am trying to compile my program, the compiler is raising an exception error. What it is? Now try without catch or finally. Try without catch or finally. Now there is an error at line number 7. What is that error? Try without catch. Try without catch or finally. Okay. That means we cannot write the try without using either the catch block or finally block. Okay. So now sometimes in the interviews you may get the question, can you write the try block without catch? Is it right or wrong? Can you write the try block without catch? In general, you cannot write the try block without catch. The purpose of the try block is throwing an exception. The purpose of the catch block is receiving an exception. Okay. If an exception is thrown, there must be a block to catch this exception. Who is catching the exception? Catch block in general. Okay. Now suppose if there is no catch block, can you write the try block? No, but it is possible by including the finally block. Okay, now we can write a try block without catch. How it is possible? By using the finally block. By using the finally block. Now suppose I am writing one finally block. Now again I am compiling the code. Now what happens? Now what happens here? There is no compile time error at all. But still runtime exception is there because here I am not handling the null pointer exception properly. There is no catch block at all, so that the program may terminate abnormally. Suppose inside this the try block system dot out dot println. Okay, so I am here. This is my finally block. This is my finally block. Now see what happens here. Java test dot Java, see test dot Java. Now the program executed. Now the finally block executed, and later on the exception information will be thrown. Okay, even though if you are not able to catch the exception, or you are not handling the exception properly, still the finally block will execute. That's what I am telling you. Okay, the finally block will always execute even though there is a catch block or there is no catch block. Okay, understand all of you. This is the usage of the finally keyword. Okay, now the finally keyword is used to execute some block of statements always. Okay, irrespective of the exception may be thrown or it may not be thrown, or may be handled or it may not be handled. Okay, now you can include the catch finally block after the catch block or after the try block. Okay, where you can include this finally block? Okay, either at the end of the after try block or the catch block, we can include the finally block. Okay, this is the advantage of the finally block. This is about the try, catch, and finally. So if you have still any doubts, please ask me on this finally keyword, right? Okay, thank you.